Welcome to Inside Southeastern Basketball with David Kiefer on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network. It's your chance to hear directly from the head of Lion Basketball. Now, live from Rainbow Daiquiris in Hammond, here's Alan Waddell.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Inside Southeastern Basketball. David Kiefer actually on the road tonight as he is recruiting along with assistant coach Mark Lieberman. Will be joined by assistant coach Patrick Schulte throughout the show as we talk about last week's game against Abilene Christian, a hard-fought game where the Lions tied the game at 63 in the final 3:44, and an 11-0 run unfortunately doomed the Lions in that one. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about this week's games on the road at McNeese and at home against Northwestern State throughout the hour. We'll also be joined by assistant coaches for Southeastern, Riley Conroy and Dean Baumert. But we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and hear from Coach Schulte as we talk a lot more about Saturday's hard-fought but tough loss.
What do you love most about being a student athlete at Southeastern?
So I chose teammates for life because on our golf team, nobody's from the same spot, but the friendships we've made once we graduate, I know we'll always be friends, we'll always see each other, we'll always come back and visit.
The Southland Conference, 13 member institutions, over 4,200 student athletes, achieving success in the classroom while excelling in 19 NCAA Division I sports and making a difference through serving others and giving back to the community. Determination, hard work, commitment, excellence, and collaboration. Together, we are Southeastern!
Back to Inside Southeastern Basketball here from Rainbow Daiquiris. I'm Chris Salim, joined by assistant coach for Southeastern Patrick Schulte. Alan Waddell and Coach David Kiefer out for the week. Coach Kiefer on the road recruiting with head coach Mark Lieberman. But let's dive right into it, Coach Schulte. Let's take a look at Abilene Christian. I mean, you're talking about a team that comes in, reigning conference tournament champions, a very experienced team, a team that on paper we don't necessarily match up well with, and it happened in the first game. We played at their place, losing 76-55, got down in that game by as many as 32 points. Then come back against them this past Saturday, and battle them for 40 minutes. I mean, what was the biggest thing that you saw different in that game?
Leading up to the game that week, really challenged the guys with two things. One, the turnover battle. They beat us by 9 last time. The first game, I believe, we had 6 assists to 24 turnovers, and we only forced them into 15, so they were +9 the turnover battle. And then the second thing was points in the paint. They were +20 points in the paint last game against us. So we told our guys going into the game, if we can tighten up those two things, it gives us a chance to win. It's not going to guarantee anything, but if we tighten up those two things, we'll be right there at the end where we can make some plays and win that game.
You know, the thing that I like, and it was on display again Saturday, is for 27 games and throw the record out the window. This team's perimeter defense, I feel like, has been there every single night. I'm sure you and the coaching staff can look at some games where it could have been better, some things that you could have done differently. But the effort that you're getting guarding the ball, and I think it starts with freshman Byron Smith, who's just been sensational, and to me, an all Southland defensive, all defensive team caliber player. I mean, Talk about just how much this team on the perimeter defensively has a chance to really kind of be the staple for this team moving forward.
Yeah, everybody's really bought into what we're trying to do defensively. It's no secret that we are a little undersized in the post. I mean, Pop is our starting 5, and he weighs 205 pounds. So we try to tell our bigs and our guards especially that our best post defense is our perimeter defense. And what we mean by that is if we have good ball pressure and we're really heating up the defense around the perimeter and making it tough on them, they can't just sit back and make those easy post entries. So we try to help our bigs out as much as we can because we are asking them to do a lot every night. Pop's giving up 40, 50, 60, 70 pounds to whoever he's guarding. And we think everybody's really bought into that and really dialed into what we're trying to do defensively.
You know, before we get into the rest of the ball game against Abilene Christian, which the second half to me was just thrilling to watch all 20 minutes of it, even though we didn't come out on the right end of the result. But, you know, Vaughn Julian, the lone senior on this team. So, obviously, this team, Coach Kiefer, everybody, I mean, he would like to have had a better senior season as far as the results have gone. But to me, he's going to be a guy that we're going to be able to look back on in about 2 or 3 years and say that guy really helped lay the foundation for this team because of his leadership. I mean, talk about what you've learned from him or learned about him just in the 1 year you've gotten to coaching.
Yeah, I would do anything to coach 13 Vaughn Julians every year. You're going to see how important he was to us, not this year, obviously, but in 2 or 3 more years when you got Isaiah and Nick and Mox and Byron. Now they're all juniors, you know, and just them being able to learn from him and how to go about your business and how to be coachable and work every day. Vaughn's a student of the game. He wants to coach when he's done playing. He's going to be a great coach. The struggles he's going through now are going to ultimately help him coach because you're going to have years like this. It's not all going to be rainbows and roses. There's going to be some bumps in the road, and this is just going to help him develop even more into a more well-rounded coach when he decides it's that time for him.
And I like what you said on this show, I want to say last week or 2 weeks ago, and you said if winning was easy, it wouldn't be fun. And that's what's going to make this so much more fun for us moving forward. But another quick note on Vaughn Julian, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, he will be honored Saturday for Senior Day, and he ranks number 9 all time in Southland Conference program history in assists with 269. So that right there just tells you about his unselfish play. And, Coach, he's done that 2 seasons. I mean, you know, breaks in the top 10 and has only played 60 games.
Yeah, you would have to think, what would he do if he had 4? You know, he might hold our school record. I know he averages right around 6 a game. He's always willing to make that extra pass and always looking to get somebody else going. Doesn't really worry about himself scoring. He tried to do a little bit of that to start the year because he felt like he had to, and it was just us reiterating to him, we don't need you to be Superman to win. Just be who you are. Be rock solid. Be that leader for us, and he's done a really good job with that.
Yeah, I mean, he really does a great job game in and game out of playing, I guess, y'all's game plan. Sometimes it does require where he takes 10, 12 shots, and sometimes, you know, it only takes 2 or 3 shots, I believe. If I look at the box score, if you got it in front of you there, I think he took 2 shots.
2 shots.
But just his presence on the floor makes this team better. Let's go to the second half, though, or halftime. So we're down 42-28. All the reason in the world for this team to go in and play the woe is me card. You know, we're 6-20. No reason to, you know, go out and go through the motions here. Maybe lose a game by 15 or 20 going away. The exact opposite happened. We come out, score the first 8 points of the second half, and before we know it, the game is tied with 3:44 to go. What was Coach Kiefer's message at halftime?
Our coach was real positive with them. It was just fighting for those first 4 minutes. We felt like if we could win the first 4 minutes, beat them by 4, 6, 8, tighten the game up a little bit, and then from there, we'll just play and see what happens, you know. So we really challenged them to win that first 4 minutes, and they responded well.
So we tied the game at 63, and we go into the final media timeout. And, you know, was it more about their experience? I mean, it just seemed like they made a couple big plays here and there. Maybe it got to a loose ball, and then before you knew it, I mean, they're going on an 11-0 run. How valuable are games like this one moving forward to, you know, like next year and the year after? Because obviously this league's got a lot of parity. We're going to play a lot of games just like that in the next 2 to 3 years. How valuable is a game like yesterday for some of these freshmen?
Yeah, there's no question.
Excuse me, Saturday.
There's no question. And like you talked about, Abilene, they're a very disciplined veteran team. They won the league last year, so they've been there before. So they've been in those situations a little more than us, and they've performed well in those situations. So we're getting that experience where we're understanding what it means to be in that situation. Now we just have to keep on building on that. And once we see one go our way, it makes it so much easier to believe and keep pushing in the right direction.
You know, while we're talking a lot about the young guys and the freshmen, we talked about Byron Smith. To me, the guy over the last couple of games that is, to me, not to be repetitive with this word, but sensational, it has been Nick Caldwell. Again, 11 points and 8 rebounds, but he was a big part of sparking that late run. I mean, 8 rebounds, a career high, 11 points. He just has an engine that never stops, and his versatility. I mean, I think Coach Kiefer's knocked it out of the park with him.
Oh, no question. And I'm going to give Vaughn more credit for this because Nick had been struggling a few games, and Vaughn was giving Nick a little bit of a hard time because Nick kept wearing black socks with all white shoes. And Vaughn told him, you can't do that. And then so I had to piggyback off Vaughn and kind of get on board with what Vaughn was saying. I said, Nick, you're never going to play good if you're wearing black socks with white shoes.
Socks. Okay.
So now since he switched to white socks with white shoes, he's had 3 straight games of double digits, and he's kind of turned the corner. But no, we talked about before, Nick, to start the year, you could see the flashes. And then every freshman's got those growing pains. He went through a little lull, and now he's finishing very strong. The sky's the limit for Nick. He's starting to understand he can impact the game and so much more than just shooting deep 3 balls, which he did in high school. He had 8 rebounds, 3 offensive. Very well-rounded player, so versatile, can guard basically 2 through 5. The sky's the limits for Nick. He's going to be a really good player.
So does the black socks thing work for every profession? Because right now I'm wearing black socks with tennis shoes.
What
and
color
dress
shoes?
Pants, white shoes. But
yeah, you need to switch that up.
So I'm going to be okay with it. And
Riley,
and
can
the
we get
reason
him a
is
pair of
because
shoes or a new pair of socks for the
I just didn't have any clean socks. I'm a single man at the house, so I'm behind on
Understand.
laundry. But anyway, all right, so, moving forward on this, I mean, let's – the Abilene Christian game and everything that went right in it, what was there anything over the last 3.5 minutes, from a X's and O's standpoint to our guys, you felt like maybe, okay, guys, we did this, or was there any particular part of that last 4 minutes that you looked at and said, guys, we had a chance on this possession, whatever it may be?
Yeah, after the game, there's always not just those last 3 minutes, but as a coach, when you watch all 40 minutes, every possession, if you score, you could have done this better.
Sure.
If you didn't score, you could have done this different, and you would have scored. So every single possession, there's one thing that you're like, man, if we just did that, we would have got that stop. Or if we just would have did that, we would have scored that basket. So it's easy to nitpick on those last 3 minutes, but really it's all 40 minutes. The possessions in the last 3 minutes were no different than a possession between the 8 and 5 minute mark in the first half where maybe we didn't execute as good as we wanted to, And now if we clean up things between that 8 and 5 minute mark, and now we're +4 or 5 in that situation, well, now it makes the last 3 minutes a little easier because we're not down 6,
that you kind of brought something up that I've wanted to talk to a lot coaches pretty much at every sport about this. What you mentioned to me is something that I debate some of my friends about a lot. Is the word clutch, and obviously down the stretch, you make plays and whatnot. But the game does not change with 2 minutes to go as it does, or with the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, everything is still the rules of the game don't change. It's all up top. I mean. I guess my question is, how overhyped is the word clutch? I mean, if you play 40 minutes the same way, then clutch is kind of
I don't know if I could say it's overhyped because there's certain times where certain guys do kind of clam up and tighten up late in the game. But if you can get your guys, I would say the hard thing is getting your guys, these 17 to 21-year-olds, to understand that a possession with 17 minutes left in the first half is just as valuable as one with 45 seconds in the second half. If you can get them to believe in that, and it was 3 or 4 games ago pregame talking to our guys, and I told them whoever plays the closest to 200 minutes tonight will win.
Sure.
And Kirby's like, wait, we got 200, and he was trying to figure out how many minutes. I go, no, Kirby, we have 5 positions, 5 guys on the floor. Everybody plays 40 minutes. We have 200 minutes. So if the 1, 2, 4, and 5 play a full 40 minutes and you only play 30, now there's a little room, a wiggle room there for the opponent, So whichever team plays the closest to a full 200 minutes, regardless of if it's the last 4 minutes or the first 4 minutes or what have you, gives yourself a chance to win.
You are going to be a head coach, sir, at some point. It's only a matter of time. But I enjoy listening to some of this feedback. But listen, looking forward to this week. So real quick, fans, we're going to take a quick break. We'll talk more about the upcoming games this week as the Lions will take on McNeese Wednesday night on the road at 6:30, and then Northwestern Saturday at home at 4. We'll talk more about those games when we return. This is Inside Southeastern Basketball from Rainbow Daiquiris.
The countdown to Katy has begun. The Southland Conference Basketball Tournament at the Merrill Center in Katy, Texas. Experience it live as Southland strong teams compete for a tournament title and a chance to go to the dance. It's affordable family fun and great college hoops action. Tickets for the Southland Conference Basketball Tournament are on sale through school ticket offices and Ticketmaster.com.
What's up, Lion fans? It's Nate Big Easy Lofton of the world famous Harlem Globetrotters and also Southeastern Louisiana University. Can't wait to be back home March 12th in the University Center. Can't wait to see you there. Line up.
Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Basketball, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris, as we're joined by assistant coach for the Lions, Patrick Schulte, filling in for head coach David Kiefer as we dive into this week's games. And Lions again will take on McNeese on the road Wednesday at 6:30, and then they'll be back at home Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock to face Northwestern State. Both of those games will be on the Southeastern Sports Network, 90.9 FM. KSLU. I had a lisp until I was 17 years old, so I struggle through the S's still to this day.
We'll get through
it. Anyway, let's jump right into McNeese. The McNeese really, when we faced these guys about a month ago, actually January 22nd to be exact, they were clicking on all cylinders, and we knew they were capable of it, but they've kind of come on some tough times of late. They come in losers of 6 straight, but they're as dangerous as any team in this league. They have just as much talent as Stephen F. Boston, Abilene Christian, all these teams in the top part of the league. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from them on film, and of late, I guess. Have you noticed anything different at all, or not really?
Very, very talented team. Shamarcus Kennedy's probably a surefire first team All Southland player, I would have to assume. Drew Cuxhausen's maybe the best shooter in the league. They have a couple wings forwards who are very versatile, can do a bunch of different things. So very talented. For whatever reason, the last 6 games, just haven't been able to piece it together. I haven't noticed much X's and O-wise or stylistically. They're still playing what I would call pretty similar. Just for whatever reason, they haven't got the loose ball they needed or made the shot when they needed to. So like you said, they are in a little skid, losing 6 straight. So when we go to Lake Charles on Wednesday, they're going to be desperate for a win because they're still clinging to that 8th spot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you mentioned Shamarcus Kennedy. For me, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do this or not, but I'm going to go ahead and say he's my runaway conference player of the year, fans, and the numbers back it up right now. The guy's he's 13th in the nation in rebounds per game at 10.6 a game. He leads the conference in field goals and field goal percentage, 187 field goals, 675 field goal percentage. He's second in the conference in scoring at 18.3 points per game and second in the conference in block shots at 74. That's 2.8 a game. I mean, you can't really ask for much more from a big. I mean, he's as talented as anybody. I mean, without giving away too much strategically, Patrick, what are some ways that maybe we could slow him down, I guess?
He can. That's a good way to put it. You slow him down. You can't totally eliminate a player like Shamarcus, but you can slow him down, and you can do some things better than we did in the first game to make it harder on him to get his touches and maybe not give him his touches where he wants the ball. So now instead of him catching in his sweet spot, now maybe we force him 3 or 4 feet off of that spot, and now it's a little different. But really just challenging our bigs like we've talked about. Just challenging our bigs to make everything difficult for them. Our guards need to help out and do their part as well. Against McNeese the first time, I didn't think our ball pressure was quite as good as it has been in all of our other games. We had a little bit of slippage, a little sloppiness at times. So just trying to dial all that in to help out best we can, because guarding Shamarcus down there is a handful.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you look at a team like McNeese, and they lead the conference in three-point shooting, knocking down 229, and then they're shooting 40% from the three-point line. That's still top of the league by far. So even with the struggles, I mean, and I thought we did a pretty decent job the first time of defending the three. I mean, 7 of 17, they're still going to get theirs. I mean, Drew Cuxhausen knocks down 5 of 7, but overall, thought we guarded the perimeter pretty well, but Shamarcus Kennedy obviously giving us all we can handle as he's done everybody.
Yeah, it's a little catch-22 because you can't really double Shamarcus. If you double him, now you're going to leave a 40% three-point shooter open, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a catch-22, pick your poison. For the most part, I thought we did challenge okay on the perimeter of the first game, but in film today we showed personnel of McNeese of our last game, and Cuxhausen did get a few 2 open threes for the caliber of shooter he is, so we have to be a little more locked into that, just really limit the amount of good looks that him and the other shooters get on the team.
No question. Lions fell in the first game 77-61. McNeese again was just as good as you could ask for. I mean, 26 of 49 from the field and knocked down the 7 threes in that ball game, and also were 18 of 21 from the free throw line. But we did force them into 21 turnovers. So, again, that goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, Patrick, before we shift over to Northwestern, about the defense. I mean, forcing that many turnovers, I mean, again, there's only so much you can do when they're shooting 55%, but forcing that kind of turnovers is usually going to be a positive result.
Yeah, Byron and Vaughn and everybody did a great job on their point guard, Miles Hutchinson, forcing him into 7 turnovers. And then A.J. Lawson had 5 as well. So their primary handlers, we did force them into turnovers. But Shamarcus was 11 for 13. I want to say probably 6 or 7 of those were dunks. 2 or 3 of them were tip dunks. Not a lot of defense that can be played when you get blown by in the perimeter and you can just throw it up to Shamarcus and nobody's going to go get the ball where he's going to get the ball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, let's switch over to Northwestern now. And that, of course, that game earlier or last month, January 25th to be exact, the most thrilling game we played this year by far. I mean, got down in that game 67-62 with under 2 minutes to go and rallied and battled back. And then Vaughn Julian just kind of put us on his back and said, we're not going to lose this one, guys. He hits the three-pointer with 11 seconds in regulation to tie the game at 71, and scores 8 of the 13 in overtime. Lions win 84-81. Take us back to that game, what you remember.
Yeah, it was back and forth. I want to say we led almost all the first half.
Yeah.
Started out really good, guarded them really well. Northwestern isn't the most complicated team offensively, but the few things they do really well. Sure. They're not going to adjust to what we're doing. What they run is what they run, and they're going to run it how they run it, and they're putting it on their opponent to stop them. So we started out really good. Second half, we hit little offensive lulls, but like you said, Vaughn did what seniors do late, hit that big 3 right in front of our bench, and then took over in overtime, and we were able to escape out of there with a win.
Yeah, I mean, the guy what we were talking about earlier with him is, I try not to get too much in that part, but because I feel like this is kind of a cliche, but the guy's a winner. I mean, when it was time to make some plays, he made them, and we picked up a big victory at the time. So Northwestern comes in 12-13 overall, 9-7 in the conference before their Wednesday night matchup against league-leading Stephen F. Austin. Looks like, fans, right now, Stephen F. Austin more than likely going to win the league as they sit at 24-3 and 14 and Wake at 15-1 in the Southland. So, but I think we got a good chance in both of these this week, Coach. So
yeah, no question. Our last 4, we were talking to our guys today. Our last 4, we feel like are all winnable. games as long as we do what we do and we fight for 40 minutes. You look at Northwestern State, we beat them at their place since then. They've went on a little roll. They're 5-2 right now. So they're going to be coming in. I believe they're still in fifth. Are they fifth in league? So
right now sitting fifth at 9-7.
I mean, they have everything to play for. They're trying to get one of those byes if they can slide up to 4, you know. It'll be a competitive game as always. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the thing real quick before we go to break, I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at any of their film from the Nichols game. I mean, they have got a 65-49 lead with 7:50 to go in that ball game. Nichols finishes the game on a 24-4 run, and they win 73-69. So, I mean, it shows you just how dangerous this Northwestern State team is on a night-in, night-out basis.
Yeah, they're very, very dangerous. And like what we talked about, they run a lot of middle ball screens, and what they'll do is they have 2 over 40% three-point shooters in both corners.
Sure.
So if you're going to help off either of those guys, they're going to spray it to them and they're going to shoot it. So it's very important in that game that we stay home on those shooters, make them finish tough shots in the paint, and whenever a shot goes up, we got to hit somebody.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Coach, we're going to take a break. We're going to let you take a break for a segment or so. We're going to bring in assistant coaches Riley Conroy and Dean Baumert. Looking forward to talking to these two guys, a couple of good friends of mine I've gotten to know really well this year. So we'll hear from both of them and much more as they're going to both be on the hot seat here momentarily, fans. This is Southeastern, Inside Southeastern Basketball here from Rainbow Daiquiris. We're back in a moment.
The countdown to Katy has begun. The Southland Conference Basketball Tournament at the Merrill Center in Katy, Texas. Experience it live as Southland strong teams compete for a tournament title and a chance to go to the dance. It's affordable family fun and great college hoops action. Tickets for the Southland Conference Basketball Tournament are on sale through school ticket offices and Ticketmaster.com.
What's up, Lion fans? It's Nate Big Easy Lofton of the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters and also Southeastern Louisiana University. Can't wait to be back home March 12th in the University Center. Can't wait to see you there. Line up.
Welcome back, Lion fans, to Inside Southeastern Basketball here at Rainbow Daiquiris, as we're joined by assistant coach and director of, you're scouting or?
Director
of recruiting. I got you and Dean mixed up there for a second. I apologize, buddy. Riley Conroy. Gotten to know Riley on a personal level this year. Very good guy. A very bright future in this business, to say the very least. Just 23, 24 years old, young man, huh?
Turned 24 tomorrow, actually.
Is it really your birthday? Oh, you shouldn't have told me that. I have a live mic in my hand. You do realize that. Anyway, so let's, Riley, on a serious note, let's get right into it. So, great basketball background. Played at Tulane. Got a big-time basketball background when you look at, Dad, Ed Conroy, former head coach at Tulane. So, his knowledge of the game, fans, if you ever got a chance to be a fly on the wall and listen to him breaking down teams, getting on the chalkboard, or the marker board now in modern times, but break down these teams. It's really remarkable to watch. Just talk. Let's start off with just kind of your passion for the game and where it came from, Riley.
Yeah, obviously growing up in a basketball family, you kind of get exposed to it from a young age. But growing up, I played all sports, just basketball, football, baseball, and then, ventured into some other things too. But basketball was one that once I hit high school, it kind of hit me. This is the path you want to go down. And the biggest thing with coaching was I wanted to impact the players' lives in a positive way. And when I was a player, you always look for that one coach or that one person who impacts you, and that person sticks with you for life. So I wanted to be that kind of coach.
So when you got the chance to play, of course, at the collegiate level, I mean, obviously you had a very successful high school career, and getting the chance to play at the collegiate level, I mean, what for me, I'm always curious to find out, what's the biggest difference that you see in the two? Since they're, not too far removed from playing both of them, what was the biggest difference?
For me, going from high school to college, the biggest difference was time management. You're thrown into 15 or 16 credit hours a semester, and you're thrown into no one making sure you're going to be at practice or weights. It's completely up to you, and if you don't do the extra things and hold yourself accountable with how you block out your schedule, then you start getting tired, and the next day it builds up, and the next thing you know, you're not performing well on the basketball court or in the classroom. So that first couple weeks of your freshman year, you figure out a lot about yourself, and you got to kind of determine which way am I going to go here. Am I going to do the right and responsible thing, or am I just going to let myself slide by? I
got a feeling that you did things a lot better than I did my freshman year, my friend. But anyway, now I've lost my train of thought just thinking about it. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about your job responsibilities this year. And fans, for those of you who don't know, I mean, obviously assistant coach helping out with game planning and whatnot, but he also makes sure that the team gets to every single hotel, books the flights, make sure we get to the flights on time, make sure people like me who can't walk and talk at the same time get to the plane on time. He makes sure that we're all there. And how difficult has that been of a transition from a player, and now to being thrust into a very, hectic schedule at just 23, 24 years old?
So when I was at Tulane, I was actually really fortunate. The director of operations that were there when I was playing were really good, and they did everything the right way, and they were pretty transparent with us as players on this is why we're going here, this is what we're going to do. And so I just kind of tried to absorb all of that, just because I knew ultimately I was going to want to have this position someday at some university, and just happened to be here. And obviously I'm super thankful for that at such a young age. And now the biggest part of my job is, as obviously director of recruiting, but also handling all the operations of it, is you're not going to get noticed unless something goes bad.
Sure.
So the less you get noticed on these road trips, the better. So you're never going to be noticed for having the bus driver there on time. You're only going to get noticed when the bus driver's late. So the less errors, the better.
Hey, I can understand that too. It's just like writing the stories. They don't. The only time it gets noticed is if there's an error in it and somebody
That's
lets
exactly
me know.
Right.
So trust me, I understand you on that. But yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult job, man. I watch it on a daily basis when we go on the road trips and all the little things that you have to do. So definitely glad we get a chance to give you a shout out on here with it.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Okay, so before we bring in Coach Dean Baumert, if you're wondering why it feels like it's getting a little warm in here, it's because that seat's warming up underneath you, sir. So here we go. You have two answers to each of these questions. Just pick one or the other. Hot seat time. Remember the 2-minute Budweiser thing they used to do on ESPN? Something similar to this. Steak or seafood?
Oh, steak.
Coke or Dr. Pepper?
Coke. And that's only because you drink Coke.
I'm about to kick you off the set. Very well played.
That's
Cats
fair.
or dogs?
Oh, dogs.
LSU or Alabama?
No response. Neither.
Michigan or Ohio State?
Neither. Minnesota.
He's playing games.
Politically correct.
He played PC.
Yeah.
Would you say cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay, good. 3 out of 5 I'm okay with.
That's fair.
Fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, Southeastern Director of Recruiting and Scouting, no, not Scouting, Recruiting, Dean Baumert. Going to bring him in here in just a second. Riley Conroy, we very much appreciate it. Dean, come on over here, sir. So we're not going to go to break just yet. We're going to bring Dean in, but nicely done, sir. Well done on the hot seat.
Thank you.
LSU you have to answer one of the two. You don't get there's no third option on this. So we'll bring in Dean Baumert, fans, here in just a second. And Dean, another guy that I got a chance to really know on a personal level this year, get to know his basketball knowledge. very entertaining guy. To me, if he didn't coach basketball, he could maybe have a field in stand-up comedy. But Dean, welcome to the show, sir.
Glad to be here.
Thank you very much, man. Good to have you on. So let's talk. Same thing you saw how we did things with Riley, same general concept, and then your seat don't get hot at the very end. So okay, so from the Kentucky area, of course, great basketball background a little bit. Tell us about that, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I started out as a student manager at the University of Louisville, where Rick Pitino was the head coach, and I was there when we went to the Final Four in 2012. Got to experience several Big East championships, so got to be around a lot of really good basketball. And while I was there, that's really when I developed a passion to become a coach. And Riley touched on a lot of the good points, is one, to impact the players' lives, trying to help them, always trying to be that coach that they'll remember forever, that they can take something away with and carry along with themselves just in their everyday lives, whether that's as a father, a husband, a member of the community. Doesn't have to be on the basketball court, but if you can impact them in the scale of life, you did your job.
You know, something I've noticed this year, too, is a lot of times before the games, I mean, obviously, for the fans that are at a lot of the games, Coach Kiefer and assistant coach Mark Lieberman kind of the dominant voices. But before games, fans, I mean, Dean is sitting down with a lot of the guys and making sure that, goes over, certain defensive assignments and whatnot. I mean, talk a little bit about some of the little things that you do behind the scenes to make sure that this team is ready to play, because you, just like Riley, when it comes to breaking down film and breaking down teams and scouting, are y'all as good as anybody I've seen?
Well, most of that is me conveying that to the coaches more so than the players. With the players, me and Riley kind of just handle whether or not they have fouls or not, so those guys know that more so than like coverages and all that stuff. We convey that to the coaches. So we'll talk with Coach Lieberman and Coach Kiefer about how, especially like with McNeese coming up, being the director of scouting, he's director of recruiting, but we kind of mesh in with each other. So we joke around and say like director of anything and director of everything, because we kind of handle it all. But we'll convey to them like what are they looking to do on ball screens, other stuff like that, and then they'll convey that to the players because they have a much better message than we do at this point in our careers.
Well, I think that's why I keep getting confused with which one of you is which, because I look at you guys as kind of two of a kind. Just call you Dean Baumert and Riley Conroy, or put you together, Dean Conroy. We'll just start doing that. So, let's go to your playing career real quick. Just describe a little bit about, I talked to Riley, of course, about his high school career and whatnot. I mean, describe yourself as a player and probably what your best attributes are for this team. I mean, as far as where you can go back and look and say, okay, well, I was really good three-point shooter, I was a really good perimeter defender, whatever it may be. I mean, what was the area of the game that you felt like you were the best at?
Probably just like communication and toughness. And I mean, that stems more to when I was in riding motorcycles with my dad, who's really big in that industry. I built that then more so than I did with basketball. And that kind of carried over more to when I was coaching, because I had to communicate certain things with him and other guys that were on the team, because we traveled all over the country every summer doing that stuff. But definitely communication, toughness, willing to get dirty when nobody else wants to. I mean, it's all part of it.
I understand, man. One thing I didn't get a chance to ask Riley, and I'm going to ask you on though with this, is that, you guys, no different than the rest of the assistant coaches, y'all thrown the record out the window. I mean, you prepare for every single game as though tomorrow is the Southland Conference Tournament Championship, and I think that's creating a great foundation moving forward. I mean, was that something from that Coach Kiefer has really pushed, or was that something that you had before you came in?
I mean, we kind of had that base already, but he definitely wanted to push that and send that message our way so that we're conveying that to everybody else that's around us.
Yeah, no question, man. Okay, so like Riley, seat warming up. Yeah, okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. First off, I have a question.
Well, first off, you can't ask me the same questions you asked him, because I'm already prepared for those. So, that way, you're in the hot seat now.
Oh, no, don't you worry about me, buddy. You know that I can come up with something on the fly, so don't worry. Your seat just got even hotter. Okay, so I got one question. The coaching staff for this team, you guys' hair, I mean, y'all have the Zach Morris thing as well as anybody. Everybody's hair is always dialed up. Yours right now, too. I mean, is that something you guys discuss before games to make sure that y'all are all slicked up, or is it just kind of like a habit thing, like when two people show up wearing the same shirt, you know?
No, so going into the season, we all kind of met with each other, and we decided that we wanted to be the best-looking coaching staff in America. And I think at this point in the season, that's not debatable at all. I mean, anybody is more than welcome to challenge it, but I think we've run away with that award.
You think so? I don't know, man.
I mean, Coach Schulte leads the way by far, but we all just try and fall in line behind him.
Well, what's weird is, okay, so obviously Coach Kiefer is going to have trouble doing anything with his hair, but the rest of you guys, you know, I mean, just kidding, Coach, obviously bald hair, you know what I'm saying. So, but the rest of you guys, I mean, make sure that y'all are always dialed up. So, I mean, I commend it. I personally don't, you know.
Well, I can get you some of my product if
I
you'd
want
like.
to, yes.
We'll get you the hard part and everything.
The next 4 games of the season, I want to look like an assistant coach.
We'll get it together.
Okay, an extra suit, big and tall store. Probably wouldn't find that for me. You have to go with something a little bit smaller. But okay, so you ready for your hot seat, sir?
Always.
Okay. You don't want me to ask you the same ones then, right?
No, because then I'm not on the hot seat. That makes it like a lukewarm seat because I already know the questions.
Okay, Louisville or Kentucky?
Louisville.
Okay.
You got to say it right, too. You can't say Louisville.
Louisville?
You sound like some country bumpkin. You got to say Louisville like it's a mouthful of marbles.
Sir, you're in Louisiana. You conform to our pronunciations, okay?
We'll
the word
see.
is Louisville, not Louisville.
There you go. Louisville.
Like Louisiana. See, like it's Louisiana, not Louisiana.
That's what I say. I say Louisiana.
Okay,
Because
so
that's
then
how you all want to say it.
Then why wouldn't it be Louisville?
Because that's not how we pronounce it. Just like you said, it's not Louisiana, it's Louisiana. It's Louisville, not Louisville.
You know, fans, this is why this guy right here got to go on last. So, okay, no, more of the hot seat. Okay, I'm gonna give you the same one. Steak or seafood?
Oh, seafood all day.
Okay, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Coke or Dr. Pepper?
Neither. I'm not really a soft drink guy.
We're gonna take a break, fans. But when we come back,
If it has to be
Bomber
one,
will
it'd be
not
orange soda.
Anywhere within sight of us. So, I'm just kidding, buddy. Well done, sir. Always enjoying sitting down with Dean Bomber. We'll take a quick break, our final break. No, actually, we have one more. So we'll take a final break, come back, and finish up with assistant coach Patrick Schulte. This is Inside Southeastern Men's Basketball right here from Rainbow Daiquiris in Hammond.
What do you love most about being a student athlete at Southeastern?
So I chose teammates for life because on our golf team, nobody's from the same spot, but the friendships we've made once we graduate, I know we'll always be friends, we'll always see each other, we'll always come back and visit.
The Southland Conference, 13 member institutions, over 4,200 student athletes, achieving success in the classroom while excelling in 19 NCAA Division I sports and making a difference through serving others and giving back to the community. Determination, hard work, commitment, excellence, and collaboration. Together, we are
Southeastern!
Welcome back to Inside Southeastern Basketball here from Rainbow Daiquiris in beautiful Hammond, America. Is where we welcome back in Lions assistant coach Patrick Schulte. And Coach, what you think of Dean and Riley, man? Pretty good for the cameos, huh? First time?
Yeah, I thought they did great, just like they do every day for us. They do whatever's asked, and if they don't know how to do something, they'll ask. They'll figure it out, and they were great.
Indeed. Very witty individuals, especially that Bomber guy. So you got to give him some credit.
Yep. They make it fun in the office.
They really do.
They
make those 15-hour road trips, round trip, very fun as well. So enjoyed that very much, guys. All kidding aside, Dean and Riley, love watching you guys work on a daily basis and looking forward to working with you the next couple of years as we continue to build what I think, Coach, is going to be a monster program here. I mean, looking at just the way things have played out this year, I mean, it just, as one of the few people outside of the players and coaches that have gotten to see every single game this year, I can honestly say that I don't feel like that record really shows what we are. I mean, we have really competed hard. It's just been the little things throughout the better part of the season that, kind of going through that learning curve with some of these freshmen.
Yeah, no question. It's been a disappointing and trying season. I won't sugarcoat that. The record shows that. But at the same time, proud of how our guys have fought and how they still keep handling their business. We talked about before, right now it would be easy for them to just give in, and they haven't shown any of that. They're still coming to work every day, still being coached, still putting their best foot forward. So as long as they do that and whatever they do after basketball, they give themselves a chance to be successful.
And something else one of the few things that I haven't touched on, I don't think I've even mentioned this too many times during any of the radio broadcasts, but as hard as we're practicing on a daily basis, I mean, just a prime example, I mean, obviously accidents, but we've had several guys catch elbows in practice that have led to concussions, and they've missed time. I mean, just to kind of give fans an idea, the Lady Luck has not exactly been on our side this year. But, I mean, from a coaching standpoint, that's one of those you kind of go, okay, I can live with that because they're working hard every single day in practice. Inadvertent elbows, stuff like that happens. But, y'all take a lot of positives in seeing that's been the case all year long. I mean, I know you obviously don't want guys hurt before a game, but it shows you that they're preparing to play every single game and they're practicing like you want them to play.
No doubt. Yeah, you have to make practice harder in the games because if you don't make practice harder in the games, you're just setting yourself up for failure when games come. So I think every coach tries to do that, try to make the players feel adversity and try to challenge and fight through adversity as best they can in practice. Now, it'll never quite mimic a game because it's different. You're playing against each other. You don't have officials. But every coach has their own way of inserting some adversity into practice to see how guys are going to handle it. Our freshmen at times, like you've mentioned, we've gotten a little banged up in practice. And as they grow older, the freshmen are starting to see there's hurt and there's injured. You can play through being a little hurt. And this time of the year, no team or no player is feeling 100% good. Everybody's played 25 games. Everybody's got nicks and bruises. So sometimes you have to play through hurt. Now, if you're injured, that's a different thing you have to sit out. But sometimes you're going to have to play through being hurt with, sprained ankles, jammed fingers, broken noses, and those type of things. And our freshmen are starting to learn that and embrace that and taking pride in being able to play through some of those things as they go along.
That just made me think of a movie. I mean, have you seen the program with James Caan? Remember when he asked Darnell Jefferson, are you injured or you hurt? Well, if you're injured, you can't play. If you're hurt, you can get on the field.
Yep, that's probably where my junior college coach got it from. When he first told us that when I was playing way back when, a decade ago, I was like, wait, what is he talking about? And then when you think about it more, it's, if you're hurt, you can play. If you're injured, you can't play. And there's a fine line there, but at the same time, it's a pretty definitive line where if you can play or not. And if you can, then you need to figure it out.
I want to go back to something that you were talking about at the beginning of the show. Obviously, the size down low. I mean, obviously, Pop and Ty had only 200 pounds. There's going to be some tough matchups on a night-in, night-out basis. And, for the most part, 90% of the league had somebody down there, 250, 260 pounds. And But to me, I feel like they've gotten tougher as the season has gone on. I mean, even though they're not getting bigger by the game, they're getting mentally tougher, and they're kind of learning to cope with the fact, okay, I'm giving up 50 pounds every single night, 40 pounds, whatever it may be. And I think it's going to be invaluable for them next year as much as anything, because those two guys are going to be a big centerpiece of next year's team.
Yeah, no doubt. And that was no knock on Ty or Pop. That's just they're limited in what they are with their bodies.
200 pounds.
But
only so much you can do.
Throughout the year, they figured out how to use their bodies to advantage. They're going to be able to outrun people. At the same time, well, how can I guard a big that is 60 pounds heavier than me? Well, I'm going to have to play lower than him and really sit on his legs and drive him back. So as the years went along, they figured out what their bodies allow them to do that they can use to an advantage, and where they'll be at disadvantage in terms of weight, and how to counter that by having to do things maybe a different way. We don't play behind in the post at all, because if we did, they would just bully us right to the front of the rim, right? Yeah, so we front them, and they try to really sit down and drive them back, and they've done a good job of that this year.
You know, while we're talking about kind of the disadvantages of their size, one thing that I've seen a lot this year is that they do have the advantage, too, of when they're able to bring they're both able to score 20 feet away, put the ball on the floor and go to the basket. And a lot of guys in this league aren't able to move their feet the way they are. I mean, I've seen Ty Brewer multiple times guard a point guard 94 feet. So the versatility of both of them is certainly there. And, I mean, I think they certainly have the body frames to gain 10 or 15 pounds for next year.
Yeah, no doubt. Both of them are very capable from the perimeter. I think both of them are 10 to 12% better three-point shooters than they showed this year. And when they start hitting those more consistently, now you're getting them to play out closeouts, and now it's easy for them to blow by guys with a simple shot fake. Both of them can put it on the ground 2 or 3 times and get to the rim from there. So they'll continue to grow and progress as they've had this year, but they've done everything we've asked, and they've been great so far.
Staying with, I think you mentioned this guy a little bit earlier, too, and I've noticed the last at least 5 or 6 games, it seems like, with Isaiah Kirby. Y'all talked about wanting physicality, and I feel like the guards for the better part of the season have been. And Isaiah Kirby, I don't know that I've seen a whole lot of guards that are as strong and physical as he is. As just a freshman, I mean, and he's only going to get bigger and stronger. And I've heard Coach Kiefer talk about, wanting to have, size, strength moving forward and whatnot. And I think when you look at his body frame, I mean, he's going to be a force moving forward. I mean, with what he's capable of. What are some of the things that you've seen from him?
Yeah, Isaiah's really picked it up here late the last month or so, just kind of piecing it all together. At the start, as any freshman, the game's going so fast, it's hard to adjust.
Sure.
You're used to having the ball in your hands all the time. He can do pretty much anything he wants with the ball in his hands when he has it, but now he's understanding that there's 4 other guys out there as well, so I'm not going to be able to shoot 20 times like I did in high school, So, but with the ball in his hands, he can do anything that any player in our league can do. What I'm really excited about Isaiah is, you talked how strong he is. I think he'll be able to guard 1 through 4s. I think in the future, if we want to go small ball, we can play Isaiah at the 4 because he's 6'3", he's physical, he can crawl up under guys. The old school I was at, they start a 6'2" 4-man, and they're in the Big Ten, and they're 5th in the league. So I mean, it's possible when you have those guys that are willing to fight and they know how to play, and I think Isaiah's one of those guys.
We can look at the NBA game, kind of switching to, staying on the same topic, but generally switching. So you go to the NBA and you look at how much things have changed there, where it's more of a perimeter dominant league, where it used to be, 90% of the league, it went through the 5 guy. I mean, you look back in the 90s with the, Shaqs of the world, Charles Barkley, all these guys that are back to the basket players. And now, 7-footers are playing out on the perimeter. Have you seen any type of change like that in the college game, where the difference, in the last, I guess since you played in the last 10 years, has there been a drastic change to you?
Yeah, there's been some change. Teams try to go positionless. Teams are less scared to play small ball now because there are some advantages. Since analytics have kind of taken off and people are shooting more and more threes, they feel like they can do that because they're okay with giving up a contested layup if a non-moving or non-athletic 4-man is going to have to guard somebody like Isaiah Kirby on the other side. We're going to take our chances with that. If he scores a tough 2 over Isaiah, great, because he's not going to be able to keep him in front, and he's probably going to have to play so soft that Isaiah's going to be able to shoot wide open threes on the other side. So the game has definitely adjusted, and what we talked about, Pop and Ty, our starting 4 and 5, are more NBA-style bigs right now in the terms of they're not true back to the basket. They're pick and rollers, both athletes. So in that aspect, yeah, it has. I just wish the rest of our league would adjust as well and put guys like Pop and Ty out there.
No question, man. So, when you look at the way we played the last 5 or 6 games, kind of, I think I talked to you about this after in one of the post-game interviews. It seemed to me like maybe 4 or 5 games ago that we started making a conscious effort of getting to the rim more and not settling for the 3. I mean, is that something that is really kind of going to be a staple for this team moving forward, or was that just kind of, game plan to game plan, game to game moving forward? I mean,
it's a little bit of both. Coach Kiefer puts a heavy emphasis on getting to the rim, so I know he's challenged guys to get to the rim. And as we get guys in who are more what I would call specialists and guys that just shoot the ball or one thing or the other, kind of like Cuxhausen for McNeese. He's a specialist. You can't let him literally catch the ball clean anywhere or he's going to shoot it. So when you have guys like that, you're okay with them throwing up a lot of shots. But sometimes we have guys that settle for a contested jumper when we feel like nobody can stop them from getting to the rim. So let's say Ty Brewer, for example, and he's proven that he can make tough contested jumpers, but trying to get him to understand, Ty, instead of shooting that tough contested jumper, you can get by a guy, get to the rim, pin a foul on him. Now they're going to bring in a weaker defender to try to guard you the rest of the game. So getting everybody to understand that when you get to the line and shoot free throws, you just give yourself such an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's gotten better and better at the free throw line. And, when he goes to the basket, we've seen him, almost rip the goal down a couple of times this year with some nice one-handed dunks. So definitely looking forward to how much he's going to progress. And just a sophomore, fans, he leads the team in points and rebounds, 15.1 points a game, 7.8 rebounds, which is top 10 in the conference. So it's crazy how almost under the radar it's been because – because the record not being what we wanted it to be, but I mean, he's pretty much been a model of consistency.
Yeah, that'll happen. If you took our record and you said we were 9-9 right now, and everybody would be talking about Ty Brewer as a surefire first-team All-Southland player because of the numbers. We haven't closed games like we've wanted to, obviously. So now he gets kind of slept on and a little underrated. Whereas next year when we start picking it up again, everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, they got Ty for not 1 year but 2 more years. So as he continues to grow and do things the right way, I mean, we're very excited about his future.
No question. Well, we've only got 2 minutes left in the show, man, so real quick before we do wrap it. I noticed no little ones tonight, man. The rain and the weather kept them and the wife at home.
Yeah, wife's not feeling great, so she just stayed at home with the 2 kids. There were a couple games on that she wanted to watch. My son right now is screaming nonstop whenever I get home, so if he was here, you'd hear him. But she was feeling a little under the weather. She has been for a few days, so she just decided she was going to stay home. Harper still wanted to come, but I didn't want to have Dean and Riley have to watch her here, so I just said she could stay at home.
Okay, you get the hot seat question of all hot seat questions. Is Harper a mama's boy or daddy's boy?
No, she's definitely a mama's boy.
You made that too easy.
But Lincoln is a surefire daddy's boy, so it's always good whenever I get home. I can hear Harper yelling, but then Lincoln will always run up to me and give me a hug. I went home quick for lunch today, and I picked him up. He was sleeping. I picked him up out of his room when he got up from his nap, and as we were walking out to the living room, he finally noticed, like, oh, this is Dad, this isn't Mom. So he gave me a big hug, and then I handed him to Mom. He started crying. He wanted back, so that always makes me feel good.
That is a great answer, sir, that ensures you will not sleep on the couch tonight. So well done. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have just about exhausted our time as Coach Patrick Schulte. We certainly appreciate it, man. Looking forward to these last 4 games. I really think going to be very competitive and pick up a couple victories before we wrap it up.
Yeah, no doubt. Just keep challenging these guys. They keep coming to work every day and trust in what we're doing and each other and playing for the right reasons, and we'll string some together here at the end of the year.
Absolutely. Well, fans, again, time is exhausted. Don't forget the Lions in action twice this week. Wednesday night on the road at McNeese at 6:30 and Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock as they face Northwestern State. Thanks to Patrick Schulte, assistant coaches Dean Bomber and Riley Conroy. I'm Chris Salim. Thanks again for watching Inside Southeastern Basketball right here from Rainbow Daiquiris in beautiful Hammond, America.
Inside Southeastern Basketball with David Kiefer is a product of Lion Sport Properties. For more information on how you can support future broadcasts, contact Lion Sport Properties at area code 985-549-2570.